Welcome back to Living on Sports Podcast. I'm Chester McGuire here with Michael Spencer. You ready for this second portion?
More emphasis. People need to be excited.
I'm not an excitable person.
Why? I know you're not. You're too monotone. Let's get pumped up for the
All right, I am
Sports
ready.
Podcast.
We are here for some Living on Sports Podcast in the NCAA football section of our podcast this
Yeah,
evening.
baby. I'm pumped up for NCAA football.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. We're starting off with a big one. Tim Tebow got hurt by the University of Kentucky.
Oh, goodness. The god of college football got hurt. Whatever shall we do?
I thought ESPN was going to start crying.
You know, I really did. I tweeted that I don't know if I tweeted or Facebooked this one. I was a Facebook and Twitter whore this weekend, but mainly because I was laid up in bed all weekend. But I was sitting there and I was like, you would think that Tim Tebow died on the field with the way the media coverage was. It was stupid ridiculous.
Oh, it covered everything. I mean, once it was apparent that he was okay. I mean, when he's still on the ground, he's not moving, and he's puking on the sideline, well, that's one thing. But once he's in the hospital and the doctor says he's okay, all right, move on. We got bigger stories to talk about
we're
here.
sitting there and we've got shots of him going to the ambulance. And I'm like, you would think it was Princess Diana in the freaking ambulance as much as they were covering it. It was ridiculous.
Well, he is the face of college football right now for every media outlet, which is I don't agree with doing, but that's just why they did it.
I don't know. I mean, I don't. And I think I dislike Tim Tebow just for that reason. And I hate not liking the guy because of something the media has done. But it's true. It's the reason people hated Hansborough. It's the reason people hated Blake Griffin. It's the reason, anybody would ever hate Reggie Bush or Matt Leinart. It's too much freaking media hype.
Oh, yeah. It creates such animosity for these players. I didn't like Tebow from the second he stepped onto the Florida field as a freshman, just because of the hype, and that he overtook Chris Leak, who I thought was a better player at the time.
I mean, you can't really argue with the results this freshman year, though.
Well, I think it was the both of them. Leak did his job.
Well, true. I'm not trying to take anything away from Chris Leak, but...
No, I know. I was very unhappy with him about that. All right, so next topic. Baylor's Robert Griffin III out for the rest of the season.
Which hurts.
That is a devastating
That is
loss.
big for Baylor because Baylor was an up-and-coming team, and they were a team that I thought could maybe sneak up on some people in the Big 12 this year, and now that's not going to happen.
He was an amazing freshman quarterback. Didn't throw a pick through his first, 10 games?
He's an amazing athlete, period, with his, state records in the hurdle and everything like that, and the fact that he runs track for Baylor, but that really, really kills them, and it's unfortunate because I think Baylor's got something good going on down there, and that's a huge, huge setback for them.
Yeah, you hate seeing that happen to him and then the program. I mean, at least at a program like South Florida, where they lost the Big East career yards, rushing and throwing, they've got a good backup there who had a great game his first game. Right.
But at Baylor, you're not a program where you just reload, where you just throw the next guy in there and he does just as well, if not better. And for Coach Art Briles and his staff, that's got to be just painful. I can't even imagine. It's got to be heartbreaking. It just has to be.
Yeah, it's very upsetting. All right, so the other stories last weekend, Cal versus Oregon. Cal came in at number 6, Oregon unranked, and Oregon just spanked them.
Cal overrated in that one, I think.
Oh, I think at 6 they overrated, but I thought they were still a top 15 team and they would win the game.
And I don't think that anybody saw Oregon, A, winning that game, or B, doing it in the fashion that they did, but that's... And you know what? I'm still not sold on Oregon. I just think Cal was really overrated, and I think Cal needed a good hit in the mouth, and that's exactly what they got.
Especially for this game coming up. This could have been a trap game. I mean, that's the definition of.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and who knows? We'll see how Cal rebounds this weekend.
Yeah. All right. So another big one this past weekend was Virginia Tech Miami. Another one that the higher ranked team came in and got hammered.
And that was a product of Miami being overrated. I'm completely sold that Miami was overrated going into that game. They were overrated way before that game. There was no reason they should have been in the top 10.
Yeah, well, they had done what they'd earned that spot. I mean, I think it was a product of everyone else around them being so. It was a shaky top 25 this year.
It's been a crummy top 25, but they beat Florida State, who's not very good, which we found out this weekend again.
They're a bipolar team.
Yeah, the definition of a bipolar team. But I really think Miami was overrated, and I think Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is one of those programs that continues to go back and forth. They're either overrated or underrated. They never show you exactly what they have until game day when they show up or they don't show up. It's either one of the two, and it's a very thin line that they run. But I think that Miami was really, really overrated. I think Miami's going to get smoked by Oklahoma.
You think so?
I think they're absolutely going to get worked.
Do you think that's if Bradford
With or
plays
without Bradford.
Okay, well that probably could happen.
I think Ja'Cory Harris is not a great quarterback, and I'm not sold that the U is back yet, and I haven't been until they actually do something.
All right. Another big game this past weekend was Florida State finally getting back to the top 25 and getting handled by University of South Florida at home.
Got worked. And I think Florida State was overrated. You look at a team like Georgia Tech who handled North Carolina this weekend. Georgia Tech should have been in the top 25. They're better than Florida State. I really believe that. And Florida State didn't deserve. I'm not going to say they didn't deserve to be in the top 25 because they're a decent team. But the definition of a good team is a team that shows up constantly and consistently, and Florida State right now is not doing that.
The past 5 years they haven't done it. They'll come out and beat the likes of a Miami or a ranked Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, and then they'll go out the next week to lose to an unranked team.
They'll get jacked up. They'll get jacked up about a big game that they have. They'll play really, really well because they played well against Miami, and Miami's not a bad team.
And they actually worked BYU.
Yeah, and so when they need to, they'll show up. But when when it's time, fellas, okay, yeah, but what are you going to do when it's not time? And that's the definition of a championship team. You got to show up even when you're playing the scrubs. And until they do that, they'll continue to not win ACC championships.
All right, fair enough. So on the rankings this week, we have...
How many times are you going to say fair enough? We're going to get a fair enough counter and count how many times you say fair enough. It's already happened like 4. And
well,
we've only been
that was you a good 5 times.
We've only been on the air for 16 seconds.
We'll see how many Jim Romes you'll do in today's show. All right, so in the top 10 right now, we have Cincinnati, Boise State, Virginia Tech, and USC. All 4 of them deserve it or not?
Cincy, I'm not sold on. Boise, I don't know. I don't know about Boise. What are your thoughts on Boise?
I think Boise's done what they should have to be where they are right now, but I think they're like 6 right now, and that's a bit too high because that means 2 or 3 teams go down ahead of them. They're the number 2 team.
Yeah, that's really, really high.
And I just do not think they ever deserve to be a top 5, top 3 team this year.
I think USC deserves to be in there.
See, that's the one I don't like, that they fell to 12 after losing, and they go beat Washington State and jump up 5 spots.
Well, and I think that they didn't deserve to fall to 12 after losing to Washington. From 3 to 12?
No, I thought that was a big drop, but if you put them at 12, what makes them get back to... I just don't think they earned 5 spots. 5 teams ahead of them did not lose that they deserved to jump that
No,
many.
I agree. I think the voters this year are absolutely stupid.
No, it's ridiculous.
They're being ridiculous.
Also, Virginia Tech being up where they are right now, and Houston being in the top 15. What has Houston done?
Houston doesn't deserve to be in the top 15. They beat a mediocre Texas Tech team, and before that, they got lucky at Oklahoma State. Houston doesn't deserve to be in the... Maybe the top 25, definitely not in the top 15. That's just ridiculous.
No, they'll get beat pretty soon, and everyone will start to see when they come back down to earth.
It's like you win a big game and you're automatically way promoted way too high. Now, I didn't think Houston was going to beat Texas Tech, and okay, I'm glad they did. Now, why they rushed the field, I don't really know.
No,
but
when you're number 15 at the time, and
yeah, exactly. And back to Texas Tech, I think Texas Tech is not a very good team.
No,
I don't think they're a very good team at all.
No, they got problems right now. Mike Leach suspending players, banning them from Twitter. They got problems all over right now.
Yeah, there's all sorts of stuff going on down at Texas Tech, and and it's tough because they lost great players in Graham Harrell and Michael Crabtree, but. That's a problem down there in Lubbock because they're not going to be able to compete for the Big 12 South. And each year, that program has been a program that's taken a step up. And now they're going to digress. And it's going to be how they rebound from that digression where we see how they really respond and how good of a program they actually are.
Yeah, we'll see what happens there. All right, so this weekend we got the top 2 games this weekend is Georgia, number 18, versus number 4, LSU. Who do you think wins that one?
I think LSU is going to take that one, and I think the way Georgia will get them, though, is because LSU next week has Florida, and Tebow, iffy. LSU knows they have a chance at knocking off Florida, and I don't think that they're going to be taking Georgia lightly. I think they took Mississippi State lightly and barely got out of that one. I don't think they'll do the same against Georgia.
Right. All right, what about USC, number 7, versus Cal, number 24, at Cal?
Well, with all that's going on at USC right now with Stephon Johnson, Cal, if they're going to get him, it's got to be this year if they're going to get him.
See, I've been thinking for a couple of weeks they would have, but then again, I didn't think they would lose to Oregon, which I think damages them a little bit. But I think they'll come prepared, and USC's got some issues right now.
Well, it depends on which team shows up, and no matter who wins, we'll be talking about it next week.
Yeah.
Coming up, we got more. Don't go anywhere. It's the Living on Sports podcast.